Okay, ready to set this oil pump. Show you how I do it now. I used to do it a different way, but I seen this. This is a trick that the chainsaw guy out of Oregon, not the one chainsaw guy, but just the regular, the chainsaw guy, he's on YouTube underneath that name. He uses super glue to seal where this rubber tube goes into the case and also where it goes into the oil pump. So this is the third time I've done this, and I've had really good success with it the last couple times. So I'm going to try it again. Liberal amount there. Drop it in place. There we go. Set that down into place right there. And again, this fits in the oil pump fairly tight. Shouldn't have no problem with it leaking there, but just to make sure, put a liberal amount on there. Get it set down in there. Okay. Leave that open so it can drain down. And again, don't forget these little screws, taps, bolts, whatever you want to call them. I call them taps, that hold the oil pump in place are actually tapped clear through into the crankcase. So if you don't seal them somehow, they will leak. You'll have a vacuum leak. I just like using thread locker. Other guys will use 1184, some other type of anaerobic sealer. And remember, there's not a whole lot of thread on these things. And believe me, they are very easy to strip out. I actually done it on one, and I put a helicoil in it, and I didn't tear it apart. What I done to put the helicoil in is I made up a hose with a quick connect for my air hose, and I blocked off the muffler and the carburetor like I was going to do a pressure vacuum test, and I run about 5 psi, run my regulator clear down to 5 psi, and I just pressurized the system so when I was drilling and tapping, it was actually blowing the metal fines back out at me. I also use grease on the drill bit and the tap to catch anything to keep it from falling inside. But this one here would be a lot harder, because that was a 372 I done. This would be a lot harder to do because it's got the stuffer caps in there. So like I said, just be careful when you're tightening these things here down. Don't go overboard with them, because they are very easy to strip out. Okay. As I like to say, from here on out it's just demographics. Put the brake band assembly in, muffler on it. I've got the flywheel mounted. I've got the coil adjusted for the air gap to right about 12 thousandths, give or take a few thousandths. I mean, it's probably going to be a little less because my piece of paper measures 12 thousandths, and when I let it pull up against, I actually put a screwdriver in there and give it just a little bit of a pry. So this thing will be put together here in probably about another hour. I doubt if it takes that long, but I'll come back. I don't know if I'll do a first start today or if I'll wait till tomorrow. I'll give that 1184 at least 24 hours to cure up. So we'll be back. Okay, got her all put together here. The only thing I got left is the side cover, the clutch cover. I'm not going to start it today. I'm going to give that 3-bond at least 16 hours to cure. Chain brake's operational. Still got an empty system on it. I know it says 570 there, but it is a 575, and it is a, well, it's hard to see that scratched up, but it appears like it's a 2000 model. Looks like it says 00. But I do know it is a 575 because the cylinder I did put on it is a 575 cylinder. Basically, just to recap, this saw, using it last July, blocking up some maple, big maple. It was like 48 inches on the base. The air filter didn't seal. Of course, I showed you the air filter, all the fines that got past it. I just believe it wasn't sealed right. Ingested a lot of wood fines into the cylinder. The crankcase was full of it. Bearings were full of it. Had some very light scuffing, not even scoring, but some very light scuffing on the cylinder and on the piston. I just run a little bead hone in the cylinder, 2 or 3 times up and down, took care of all that. On the piston, I took and just used some Scotch-Brite, some green Scotch-Brite, and just kind of went around it. That took care of all them. I done a little bit of porting this time while I had it apart. Opened up the transfers, not only in the case but also in the cylinder, the transfer ports, that is. I got in the intake. I flow matched everything there, so there's no ledges from where the intake boot bolts to the cylinder. It's one nice flat transfer. And then I opened the intake up to match the intake boot. The intake was actually a little smaller than the boot. So I've got all that opened up. And on the exhaust side, I took and opened the exhaust up, the outlet of the exhaust. I didn't do nothing back into the cylinder. I didn't change none of the timings. But I gasket matched the outlet of the exhaust to the muffler. The outlet of the exhaust was a little bit smaller than the muffler, so I went on ahead and basically started where it come out of the cylinder and opened it up a little bit to allow more flow. Even though I didn't open at the cylinder wall, I didn't open that up, but opening up the rest of it will allow for a little easier flow. It is finished as far as putting it together, and like I said, I'll come back and I'll do a first start tomorrow. I'm going to let it sit overnight. I don't know what kind of compression this thing has, so let me stop this and we'll just do a compression before we end this video. Okay, I did crank this thing over. I don't know what it's going to have, but if I had to guess, I would say somewhere around 150 to 160. So we'll go ahead and see what she's got here. hope you can see that. About 140, it's leaking down just a little bit, but it was right out about 145 pounds. $140, $145. So I didn't miss it by far. And this does have the decomp plug in it. Okay, that's everything until I do the first start, and that'll be a separate video. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Take care. Okay, it's been roughly 18 hours since I've got this assembled. It was probably along about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon that I finished this thing up. It is now 10 o'clock in the morning, I think. Oh, damn near 11. So it's almost 11 o'clock in the morning now. So we've been roughly about 17 hours. So we're going to do a first start on this. Ran into an issue that I'm going to get off subject here. Had a little issue. None of this is on camera. See that John Deere push mower right there? That's the JS60. I acquired that, I don't know, 2.5 years ago approximately. Cut a tree down for a buddy of mine. It was a dead standing box elder. Anyway, as I was leaving, I had the wood loaded up in my truck. I was burning it for firewood. He asked me if I knew anybody that wanted a mower, and at that point I said no. He said, well, I'm just going to throw it away. And I said, well, heck then, just throw it on the truck, I'll take it. So I got it home, started it up, and it smoked worse than any freight train, any steam engine freight train that you've ever seen in your life. I mean, it was smoking so bad it was literally blowing unburnt oil out the muffler. So I tore it apart, tore the engine down, and the oil ring was like paper thin. But the bore and the cylinder was still relatively decent. I run a bead honed down through it, broke the glaze, and basically I put new rings in it, new gaskets, new seals, ground the valves and seats, and take you around here. There's my valve grinder. It's an old Black & Decker. I've had that thing for years and years. And I've also got the seat grinder down in the bottom. It's an old Black & Decker seat grinder also. But anyway, I ground the seats, ground the valves, put it together, and started it. Started easy, was running. Was actually mowing some grass with it. Maybe 10 minutes at the most. And I started seeing little puffs of smoke at the muffler. And I thought, what the heck's going on? So I shut it off. And when I shut it off, all kinds of oil started dripping out from underneath the shroud. So I brought it in here and tore it apart. And what I found, this is the top seal. Okay. I hope I can get this on camera. Try to get it here so you guys can see it. See how this side here, get it in frame here. Matter of fact, there we go. See how it's kind of rolled right here? The metal is rolled over. Evidently, when I was putting this in, I used a seal driver, and when I was installing it, evidently I had it cocked or something, and it rolled this down in the seal pocket on top of the engine. And when I found this, it was actually spinning inside the seal pocket on top of the engine, and it was letting the oil come out from around it, and it was getting pushed up underneath the flywheel, and the flywheel was just sending it everywhere. So I've got another seal on the way. That's enough for that. We'll get to that someday. Like I said, I'm not going to put no more of that JS60 on the video because I didn't do any video of it at all. But now we're back to this. Just a little overview. I know I've talked about it before. Cutting wood with it last July. This would have been July of 2019. Ingested a bunch of wood fines. The filter wasn't sealing properly on the air horn, and it let it suck a bunch of fines into the inside, down through the engine. Crankcase was packed full of it. Bearings were packed full of it. It didn't tear the cylinder or the piston up. Had some light scuffing on the piston and cylinder. I was able to get all that cleaned up. Put new bearings in it. A new seal on here on the mag side. The PTO side is an integral seal. It's made as part of the bearing. The only place you can buy them bearings are through Husqvarna or a Husqvarna authorized dealer at the cost of about $35 a piece. So new bearings, new seals basically. I reused the old rings that was in it. Done a base gasket delete. Done a little bit of port work to it this time that I showed a little bit earlier in this video. Got it reassembled now. Done a compression test on it yesterday. Without the rings being seated in, about 145 pounds. So now we're ready to do the first start. As you can see, it is a dry system. So we'll put some gas in it. Put a little bit of bar oil in it. See how good this thing oils. You know, as always, shake the gas up before you put it in. Roughly about a half a tank of gas. That should be plenty to get it started. I know it does say 570 right there, but it is a 575. Case halves, the tag says 575, and it is a 575 cylinder. Put some bar oil in it. I might have to get another gallon jug out. This and might not have quite enough in it to... It may have. Let it get a gulp of air here. There we go. I can see it now. It's probably, I'd say it's 2/3 full. I got to get me a new cap. The Y, one of the legs broke off that Y. Okay. First off, let's set it up and see if it leaks gas out the cap here. That's the first test. We're dry, so that's a good sign. Okay, I'll get this camera set back up. We'll see if it won't start. Okay, let's see what she'll do. Got the the battery charger on my Cadet there. Choke's on, throttle's on. It's got a decomp delete. I got a plug in there so it has no decomp in it. Chain brake is engaged. Seven poles and it fires. Let's open up the high side a little bit. I'll open up the low side just a tad also. If I can get on it. There we go. Okay. Try it now. Starting to oil, just a little. I mean, it's acts like it's going to oil like a beast. So now we'll do a restart on it. See how easy it restarts. Try it without high idle. There we go. I'd say that's a success. Oiling. Starts easy. Popped in 7. I believe it was running in 9. I lost count after 7. But there she is, guys. Another one back in the arsenal. Husqvarna. I know it says 570, but it is a 575. Okay, hope you all enjoyed this string of videos. I'll compile these things up and get it uploaded. Y'all take care, have a good day.